to sort of go deeper is sort of deciding or discussing when or when not to use the many services provided by the different cloud providers. Okay? Because not everything is so. There are, as you have seen, tons of different services for almost anything, any project that you now or in the future for yourself or for your company you want to do. There is a service that somehow promise to make your life easier. Okay? There are tons, and very likely if you are not your own manager, the manager will tell you to use some of these things because he or she has heard that it's actually super good and it's going to make your life much easier. And in many cases, that is the case. However, you need to, as a software engineer and a software architect, you need to sort of you will be asked to decide, and then to decide you need to have kind of criteria to provide a meaningful advice. Now, one thing that for me, and I hope also for you, is an issue always is the whole business of sort of vendor lock-in. Vendor lock-in. Okay? What does it mean when people talk about vendor lock-in? You are stuck with a certain vendor. Okay? You are stuck with a certain vendor. And that can be a very critical issue for the development of your company or of a company. Because you are locked in. So you cannot change in case something else is better or much worse. You can do nothing if the vendor that you are locked in sort of go out of business. Because now what do you do with everything you have? Okay? What can for us, software developers, software engineers, how do we realize that we are sort of getting vendor locked in? What are the things that should kind of raise a red flag?
We're using the library the vendor provides.
When our code depends on the libraries that the more your code make calls to libraries that are provided by the vendor, the more your project, your product is locked in. Now, that is certainly one thing. Another thing, which is more or less related, but
We use the hardware.
Huh?
The hardware.
the hardware. But the hardware. So this is software libraries. But the hardware, I will say that if the hardware is the hardware is an issue. If your software, we are. I mean, I'm talking now about the software as software developer, not as a company. So So in a sense, we shouldn't care much about the hardware. Okay? Now, it is true that, it may be the case that the software that you're writing is too much dependent on the hardware it's running on. Okay, and that is an issue. But in general, as a software developer, for you, the hardware is kind of an abstraction. And in that sense, your product, your software, could just move to another hardware, hopefully untouched.
I think that the most important thing is that we need to define the logic, the flow, the architecture of the system to fit into one single vendor. Like in this case, maybe it's an event-driven architecture. It must fit into this services, and maybe for other vendor, we need to design it in other way around. So we need to get the logic fit. I think that's one dependent.
So yes, one level is the kind of the libraries. The other issue will be kind of the when the logic of the code that you're writing sort of must fit into a certain way of doing things, which is unique or special of that vendor. Yes. For all I know, okay, of the different cloud, there are not too, at the level of the architecture, there are not too many differences, right? So if all of them are using HTTP as a protocol of communication between the different web services, there are not too many different things you can do with it at the level of architecture. However, so in that sense, you can, the whole architecture of your product may not need to change dramatically. What I have found more painful is it's not the library, it's the logic, it's kind of you need to put code, which is totally specific of that vendor. I think the example that we have, one clear example that we have seen so far is the funny body thing here. That you had to put when you are sending a request, you are building yourself a request to submit to a service. You need to use the specific key value pairs of AWS. So for sure that code will have to change if you move to another vendor. So it's not the library, okay? Which also is a library. I mean, it's also it is not. It just something so specific and so low level detail. But the truth is, and it's appear anywhere, and it's hard to change. You have to remember where you do this in every single class in your code. I mean, it is painful. Okay. And there's one more thing that probably we'll see today, which is also so here you are talking about the software, okay? But now there's another funny thing with the cloud provider, which is for good reason, okay? Because they want to make money and they are good guys. So they provide ways of simplifying your job. what do I need? I need, let's say that you have to write this code, okay? And let's say that you also need to write this code. This is for product 1, product 2, and this code, product 3. And I will give an example in a second. And let's say that there's a piece of code here. This is different, but there's a piece of code that actually is the same, essentially the same. Essentially the same. So these companies, what they do is, oops, and they are the same because all these guys belong kind of to the same family of products. And then the guy says, oh, this family of product is everywhere, and all my clients need to do this. So what do I do? Right, I create a service for developing this kind of products. And that service sort of give these things, let's say, for free. For free in the sense that I give you a way to say that which is not in your code. Which is not in your code. So I generate that code for you. Nice, isn't it? What is the problem? That now, without this, you want to take this code somewhere else. It doesn't work. Because part of the software that is needed to run is outside. Is outside. You externalize that to the vendor. Yes? Let me give you an example. How do we get, so we have EC2, right, in the past, and then we say, well, this is server-based, then we go serverless, which is what we have been doing the last weeks, right? And now we don't have EC2 anymore. We have a bunch of lambdas. Fine. But then at the very beginning we have one problem, which is one of the reasons, one of the things that EC2 was given us was a hosting service. We installed Tomcat, right? And Tomcat is basically a hosting service. And that was, and we need that for static pages, like HTML or CSS or JavaScript. Right? Now we don't have that. So what? So we don't have any more EC2. So what did we do? Oh, we create a lambda. I think we call it lambda get entry, which basically go to S3, where in S3 we have a packet with index HTML. Yes? That's what we did, right? Problem solved. However, you are going to have to do this every single time for every web application that you develop without the server, because you need to get the static. You need to get the beginning, right? So this is for every web application. You are going to have the problem that you're going to put this. You're going to create this lambda, and you're going to call this lambda. Make sense? Make sense? Moreover, in our case, you didn't complain, but you should have complained. This index HTML, if you remember, actually we are not using the typical organization. You have the HTML files, you have the JavaScript files, you have the CSS file, right? We didn't do that. We put everything in one file. Now, is that reasonable? Not very reasonable. Okay, for us. Moreover, many times you don't have one JavaScript, you have many JavaScript files. And you don't have one CSS, you have many CSS. And moreover, in many web applications, suppose that I ask you in the initial page, you show the logo of VU. What do you do? If I ask you to show the right? So we have this page, right? We have this, we have the upload button here, then we have a table here, right? But let's say that here I want the VU logo. That could be the typical question in the exam. What do you do?
The get program
Huh?
you use the get program from S3 to retrieve the key of original from the S3.
So one possibility is, I think it's what you said, is first I modify the index HTML, right? Then in that, what I modify is that I create image object, an image element. Then I do a fetch to essentially a lambda that sort of download sort of the logo from S3. So in S3 I add here the logo, PNG, and this fetch, and after fetch it put the thing in the image element, right? Image element equal to whatever, logo, PNG, whatever you get. Got it? Will it work? Yes. Okay, suppose that I have another one. Another logo. You do the same thing, right? Now, forget about cloud. If I ask you to add the logo here, it's a simple web application. What do you do? Everything you learn how to do things before the class, before this class, what do you do?
So I would encode it into base64 and then just put the base64 encoding into the HTML file. That is like your
Okay. Okay, simpler. You will in the HTML you have image and you will have source, and here you will put the URL of your object, right? Simple. Right? Can you do this? Yes. Is it convenient? Well, it is cumbersome. Okay? There is a much easier way of doing things. Very likely what I say much easier way of doing things, actually they do something like that. But you don't have to do it, they do it for you. I mean, the HTML, the browser do all the calling for you. You don't have to make explicit the calling, right? So there are the current solution that we have. It's okay. It will solve all the problems, but first, it forces us to, I would say, unnaturally, so not naturally, it forces us to create one file containing all the index, all the HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. Now that is not natural because there are three different things: the HTML, the JavaScript, and the CSS, which are different for good reasons. And it's not natural because it will make much more complicated in the future to maintain that code. You have to go over a large HTML. Right. So AWS, who is not stupid, realized that this is the problem for everybody. So let's create a solution for this, which we are gonna do, okay? Which is called Amplify. And as far as I know, it's free. So we are gonna do that, okay? So now we are gonna put, so Amplify essentially is a new service, or relatively new. Before they have many other. So AWS, like Google, like keep changing the services. So that's the reason I said that this upcoming class, the important thing for you is to, to kind of think about the decision process. It makes no sense to remember by heart every single service. It will change next year. So they see opportunities, they create services. There are services that became obsolete, many, okay? So, but this one is relatively new, and as far as I know, is free for. So let's just start with that. So that what we're gonna do is we don't need anymore the lambda entry get entry. We are gonna put the HTML in this web hosting solution for static web hosting, and that's it. So this is Amplify. So basically, go to your. You have to now, of course. So. Please log into your account. So let's first remember this, that, and again, this is what I was saying, that they keep changing things. So this change is just a few months ago, that you got $200 for in the free tier credit. You can apply, and you are applying in fact to eligible AWS services, including the one that we are going to use. Please remember that this plan is available for 6 months after you create the account. And after that, either you move to pay plan or it's gone. Okay? And if you go to pay plan, then still you can use the remaining credit for 12 months. Bottom line. Please, you don't want to use it after the class, stop the thing or you will be charged. Okay? So I kind of a warning. There was one student that didn't do that, okay? And after a year, has to pay a few, almost 100 baht. Now, AWS is nice and they are rich. So actually he say, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that, blah, blah, and they forgive him, okay? But don't try. Okay, just close. If you're gonna use it, close. And if you're gonna use it, just be aware that the free ride will be over in one. Just keep looking at your credit. That's it. Okay. So for Amplify, so where are we? this is what I was saying, okay? This list. This is the current services that these guys offer. And with Google is the same. And with Azure, I guess it's more or less the same. And remember that they organize the different services in different categories. Obviously, we have not seen all of them, and there's no way, no time, and no meaning. But in compute, of course, we saw EC2, we are working on Lambda, Lightset, and Elastic Beanstalk is, I mentioned that before. Anyway, I'm not gonna go over all of them. Storage S3, database RDS, migration we have done nothing, networking, of course, we are using VPSE, API Gateway, not this one, developer tool. This is interesting. I tried, and I may try some other day, but they had this Cloud9, which was they bought from someone, and it's kind of an IDE on the cloud, so you don't need to have the IDE in your laptop. I tried, and I was not happy with it, but that was 4 years ago, so I may try again. Then you have things on blockchains, satellites, quantum technologies, of course, hundreds of things about machine learning. I had used none of them. Analytics, game development. This is what we are gonna look now is here in the front end and web development, okay? So you go there, amplify. Okay. So basically you have different places for your apps. So I created this one yesterday, okay? So you go and create one for you. Huh? You just give a name. Like you will go to all apps, and then it will ask you how many create one. And then the basic thing that you have to do is to upload your project. Now, what is your project? Well, your project is the static part of your project, meaning the HTML, the JavaScript, and everything. But the point is that you can upload the whole thing as long as you do the linking correctly in different files, not in just one file. For today, we're gonna do it just with the file that you have. The only difference is that you need to zip. So these guys, when you don't have this, okay, let me see if I can create a new one. Create a new one, okay? So let's say that I say, you are here, right? So you can get it from GitHub, Bitbucket, Code Commit. Code Commit is the GitHub of AWS, or GitLab. Deploy with our Git. Okay. Then you give a name. So I'm gonna say Cloud 26B. One of the nice thing about this service is that they have their own version control system for the different deployments that you make, branches or whatever. Just keep the name like that, and then you can upload your application, drag and drop. You may want to sort of put it on S3 and then you read it from S3. We are gonna just drag and drop, and then you need to choose. You cannot put the index HTML. You need to zip the index HTML. So you zip the index HTML and any other file that you may want, and then you create, like, for example, if I'm doing it in Ubuntu, I need to do this. I mean, there are many ways, but one way is Okay, so I have here my index HTML. So I'm gonna just so in Ubuntu I have this, in Windows you will have something similar. So I'm gonna zip this file in this HTML, I'm gonna put it in this other file, 36 zip. Okay? So then I got that thing, and then I go here. Sorry. And then choose zip folder, then I have to put it. That's my zip. Then I select and it's uploaded, and then save and deploy. And this is deploying your application. And then now this is my new public URL for my project. Okay. So they put in a domain, they do okay, and it's there. Okay. Working? Working? You right? Not yet? Huh?
The internet in this room is gone.
It's gone?
Yeah, it's not connected anymore.
But I managed. Huh? What happened? Not working? Error code?
The page cannot be found.
When you access, how could it be? How you see? You put the index HTML and you see,
Yeah.
and then what else you do?
I click
Huh?
I click on the public domain, just get
How
we
could
have to
be? Wait. Go to the. No. Over here. Okay. Deploy. Deploy updates. Okay. Choose the zip folder. Wait. Okay.
Lại custom được cái máy ở ngoài sẽ có cái
Mày viết cái file index lại rồi refresh rồi. Giờ này có cái domain.
Refresh. Not yet. None of you? None of you? You? This is working for you, Amplify? Yes? So how could it be? Huh? So which system are you using? Sorry, to see, what are you using? it had to. I mean, I think you are zipping wrong. Yeah, you have to zip. So you put yourself. So you are zipping wrong. So you put yourself. So this is your folder, and then you place yourself there. You only want to zip that file, not the whole. You want to zip that file, the index HTML. It's working, right? And what do you use for to zip?
In Windows is compress to option.
You use that one. So please use that one. It should work for everybody. Working? Okay. Okay, but the point is, with this example, what I want to, when access is convenient, okay? For if you have actually, if you have, I mean, if you happen to have a web application that you want real people to use and access, Amplify is pretty good. First, because it's cheap. If you look at the pricing, I think you need to get like millions of requests to start paying, which normally doesn't happen. And second, one of the things with web application is that, you need to make sure that it's sort of close, or there's a whole thing to make it, the experience more enjoyable for the visitor. Speed in downloading is key, and that depends on the distance and depends on other things. Amplify take care of all the things that you are supposed to do to deploy your things so that it is a nice experience for the visitor. So you just worry about writing your index, your HTML, your JavaScript, your CSS, and deploy. Okay, so it's a nice tool. But the point is, this service comes from the analysis of a need. You can do it the other way, but you are repeating the same thing, and it's not very important in a sense. And you are repeating the same thing, and in addition to that, you are complicating your life because you have to put just one file or many files, but then, as you said, just keep calling lambdas. Okay? So instead of doing and somehow change your way of thinking of a web application, of HTML, JavaScript, CSS, or whatever. So they say, okay, we do this. So you just give us the file, the static files, and we deploy it for you. This, you don't give them the Lambda. The Lambda is in another place. The Lambda is not the static hosting. The Lambda are the APIs. Okay, so this is not, Amplify is not Tonka. It doesn't run code. It doesn't execute code. It doesn't execute APIs. Okay? But for all, so suppose that, going back to the question before. So if we go for this solution, now we have the possibility of zipping, right? We are gonna zip now the index HTML, and we are gonna zip also the logo VU PNG. And then in the HTML, we just put here, as usual, logo VU PNG. And the server will find this guy because he's here. So we don't need to put in the index HTML a fetch that go and get a lambda and then no need. Okay? Same thing. Suppose that, as in many cases, suppose that here you have, we put here another button that say download, download certificate. It's a document, it's a Word document, or it's a PDF. If we don't have this, then we need to go for the Lambda solution that you put the thing in S3, blah, 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 blah. Okay? We do this, we just put it there. And here we can use any in this, because a zip, right? So we are zipping a folder. We can use subfolders and organize our objects, documents, the way we want. If we want to put them here, of course we could still put these things in S3. Okay? No. If we want to make it public, no. We want to make it private. Okay? I mean, what I was saying is that you can also put these guys in S3, but that means you are making it public. Okay? The point is, many times you will find different ways of doing things. Now, I personally, if I personally don't find using Amplify too intrusive. It doesn't force me to change my way of doing things. So if at some point the index that I'm zipping and putting is the same index that I will use for Tomcat if I want to go to a server. So because it doesn't change my way of doing things. It doesn't the price that I need to pay. I'm not vendor locked in by using Amplify because I'm not changing my way of doing things, and in fact simplify for me certain things of doing certain things that I had to do otherwise, and the price is reasonable. I mean, I have used it for 6 months and I have paid enough. And it's a nice service because it handles all the thing of of the cache and the CDNC, blah blah blah, to make things faster. So I'm happy with it. Okay. But the point for me, very important today, is I don't think I change my way of doing things by using this service. I mean, I don't need to pay more than what I want to pay for the service that is provided, and the service makes sense because it is a web hosting service, a static web hosting service, with all the benefits of a static web hosting service, which I don't need to take care of by myself. Yes? Do we see the example? Do we understand the example, the good thing? Okay. Okay. So you look at the pricing. So you may pay for different things, but basically it's free for 12 months, and then use a standard instance. So you pay, of course, you pay for the depending on how big your build is, you pay more or less, but basically you can do what we did today, like building and deploying 1,000 times per month, 1,000 minutes, and still you don't pay. And then there was the thing about the. Give me a second. Right. So in terms of requests, you need to get you pay 30 cents per 1 million requests. So if you are getting 1 million requests, I think you can pay 30 cents. Okay? Request duration. So it is, you can storage 5 gigabytes per month. Okay? So I mean, what I'm trying to say is that you have to look into that. Wait. You have to look into that, but if the pricing, right? As part of the criteria to decide whether to use it or not, of course you need to look at the pricing and understand more or less what the pricing means. Right, okay? Right. Case number 1. Okay, so case number 1 is a service amplified, which with respect to pros and cons, benefits and advantages and disadvantages. In terms of vendor locking, as I said, I don't think it changed my way of doing things. I still need to write exactly the same way, the index HTML, the JavaScript, the CSS, and it gave me advantages because it gave me a full static web hosting service with all the benefits and the price is reasonable. So go ahead. Let's look at another example, which we also have been working on. And again, this is the second example. It caused by the same quote problem. We move from here to here. So when we move from here to here, we experience one problem. Okay, here we have a button lambda, right? Well, the problem is the call start. When you have Tomcat and you have your APIs there, when you deploy your WAR file with all the classes and all the methods for the APIs, what Tomcat does is to actually, let's say, compile all that and get it ready for any request. So when a request arrives, Tomcat does not compile anything. It just calls the method. Okay? That is not how it works in Lambda. Right? And that is not how it works in any serverless service. So you have this problem that it takes time, and it may take 5 seconds and more, depending on how much initialization, well, depending on how big your class is, and also depending on how many things are involved in initializing the audience. Okay? So, this is a problem caused, first, it's a problem caused by this move from server to serverless. We don't move, we don't have that problem. So that's something that you have to consider. Should I go serverless? Well, you have that problem. How you're gonna fix it? Because nobody waits for 5 seconds. Because we are not used to wait for 5 seconds to get a page. So of course, AWS, come out with different solutions. Okay, and my point now is to let's go over those solutions and sort of analyze whether we are happy or not with it. Again, looking at what criteria should we use to decide. Let's see if I can get it. Okay, it's here. So the first one, I just copied this from somewhere, but it is more or less. So obviously the solution, okay, the overall solution is keeping the lambda function warm. And then the first one is the expected one. The first one is provision concurrency, which basically what it does is that essentially what it does is I'm gonna create a server for you. So AWS essentially create different execution environments where your lambda are always ready for invocation. So you don't, there is no, you escape the problem by not creating the problem. Now, of course, there's a, so what is the problem? First, there's a limit of the number of environments, execution environments that that AWS create for you, which of course is going to depend on how much money you pay. So the guarantee is that you can figure out, I mean, you can, for a number of requests, you can make sure that it will take no time, or at least it will take the expected time. What is the problem? Cost. You will pay. There's no such a thing as a free lunch. You pay. You pay. You pay for keeping the what happened? You pay for keeping the execution. To keep an execution environment running, obviously AWS need to allocate some memory for it. So you're gonna pay for that. Okay? So that's number one. So in this case, you solve the problem, but there is no vendor locking here. I mean, in the sense, I mean, yes, there is, but not in the sense that I'm not changing my code. This is something outside. So I have my code, which is the lambda, and then outside I pay more for keeping this lambda running. Now, if I go to another vendor, they may not have that option, then I have a problem. But the problem is not going to be that I need to rewrite my code. Okay? The problem is not going to be that I rewrote my code for this solution, but now I need to rewrite again for another solution. No, because actually for this solution, I don't rewrite my code. It is the same code. I just pay more. Okay? I haven't tried this solution, okay? Because I don't want to pay. But exists. One more thing that you have to keep in mind is that you never know, I mean, how many people are going to access your lambda. So even thinking about provisioning in advance, it may not be easy. Okay, second solution. Second solution is to use, which I mentioned last time, is to use Amazon Event Bridge rule. And what it does is to periodically call your lambda. Call your lambda. Okay? And that keeps the execution environment of that lambda active and prevents from being deallocated and required at call start. Okay? Had you done it? This one. Anybody try? You try? You try? Anybody else try? You try? Okay, so tell me your experience. Huh?
I don't know if I did it right or not, but you have to create a rule for each lambda. So
You have to?
create a rule for each lambda.
Yes.
It's very tedious, I think.
So it's tedious. Right, but what was the outcome? Did you get faster experience?
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit or a lot? With how many lambda did you do it?
I only, because I only do it for the retrieval, like the entry point and get many objects back. So I think that's the most thing that affect the user experience the most. So I just need to go for one.
And was it faster always or was faster sometimes? Or was faster after the first time?
After the first time.
Yeah, but then he said if it's after the first time, it doesn't count. Because if you do it after the first time, it means it's not called. So so for this to work, it needs to be fast the first time. Because the second time we know that it's fast, because the lambda is already warmed up. Not because of the event bridge, but because it just warmed up, because you call it the second time. What's your experience? So tedious is an issue? What's your experience?
It got much faster.
Huh?
It got a lot faster the first time and the subsequent time for all the operations like download and delete and showing the
But sorry, let me ask you. Did you, because I think you did something different. Did you create an event bridge for every lambda, or you create an event bridge for one lambda that calls the other lambda?
for every lambda that I use.
Right, and then what is, so that's good. So then what is the outcome? It got much faster in all, the first time also. Okay. So it gets the, so is it working for you right now? Can you show up?
Chưa đó.
Give me a second. Can you show us the? Right. Yeah, yeah.
Almost immediately.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So, right, so that's the speed that I expect, which is, I mean, what we expect. Now, could you please show us your event bridge?
Each lambda is called every 5 minutes.
Can you wait? Which class are you coming?
Sorry.
So you create for everyone, and then so click on one lambda delete object. Let's see how it goes. Can you make it smaller? Yeah. So you basically every 5 minutes and right. Very basic schedule every 5 minutes. Now, did you change anything in your lambdas?
Yes, so I need to add like a signal for the lambda to know whether it's a one column or a non.
And what is that signal?
So for a one column, I add an like extra variable. It is called is one column. If it is. If
But how do you know it? Show us the code. You know, the rest understand what we are discussing? So how does the lambda know that this is just a one-map call, or is out the lambda? Because it's different, right? If it's not a one-map, sorry, if it, let's say delete, if you call delete, you have to pass certain arguments to the lambda to do something. But if that is if it's a one-map call, you don't want to pass any argument, you don't want to delete, it's a one-map. So your code right. So one map call is what?
so like
So you get the string parameters and the key. So you put in the URL and the key is one. Okay. So now that string you put it in your event bridge, isn't it? Show us. Where is it? Go up. So sorry, go. So you put it there, that's fine with me. And make it smaller. And that is up. No. You select the target.
sorry, like which page?
So inside, okay. So you create the event bridge. You tell the event bridge that you are gonna call lambda, and then go down. And then you tell what is the parameter, because like any web service in AWS is gonna be an HTTP request. So they allow you to put the body, well, in these cases, you could do differently, okay? But this is gonna add it to that JSON that I told you that is automatically created every time one web service calls the other. So it's gonna put that one. This query string parameters is the same thing that the body that I mentioned, but the query string parameter is when you are using a get, and the body is when you are using something that is not get. Okay? Good. So it's cool, isn't it? However, things that we have to do, and then we will look at your solution. Your solution is different. You did a different thing, right?
Yeah, I made one and it's all.
Right. But that's the reason I want to go over each. So first, you don't get much benefit because you are not doing all. So if you're not doing all, you're gonna pay the price. It's either all or nothing. Okay? So this solution, but you already say, and it's true. Okay? So we are gonna go back to the criteria, right? So now, with respect to the price, that was the first problem. This, you don't pay. The number of requests that you have to make is such that you basically don't pay. of the amount of money that you will pay compared with the amount of money that you will pay by using the other things much cheaper. Okay? So with respect to the first solution, the cost is totally okay. But the first solution, you don't need to change your code. You don't need to change anything. This solution, you have to create a event bridge for every lambda. An event bridge is some clicks, right? And you have to, very importantly, you have to add a payload, which I agree, it's always the same. It's always the same, but you have to do it, right? You could automate this process, you could use the command line interface to do this by just clicking a button. Yes, all that is true. But my point is, you have to do this, which you will not do if you don't have this problem. Okay? Now, you move to, from the point of view of how much you are locking to AWS, well, this is a solution that works for AWS. Other vendors may not have this event bridge. Actually, event bridge is relatively new. Moreover, and I guess which role is did you give which is the role for it? You have to give a role to this guy, right? Or you use create by default. This no here. The event bridge. When you create the event bridge, I'm sure there is somewhere. Maybe it's on. Go to somewhere. Right. Go. Scroll up right here. Use existing role. Which role?
The role, yeah, it's
Yeah, but this one you didn't create it. They created for you.
yes.
Correct. Because if you want to create your own, if you want to use your own role, you need to, which you don't have to, okay? But in case you want to, because you don't want them to create a role for you and you want that role to do other things, then you need to make that role to, remember when we make our role be able to be taken by Lambda, we change the trust relationship. We add to the trust relationship of the role. So here you have to do the same thing. You have to do something like this. Give me a second. Yeah, I know. So in my role, the role that I'm using for everything, before I had this, the role can assume, a Lambda can assume that role. Now a schedule needs to assume that role. Okay. So that's, okay. Now, but again, going back, this, you need to create an event bridge for every Lambda. and you need to add a payload, okay? And the problem is, so that's already one difference, right? But the real problem is now your lambda, every single lambda, is gonna start with an if then else. Every lambda is gonna have an if then else. Let's say it's gonna look at the payload. Is it the payload of a warm-up call, or is a real payload? If it's a real payload, I do the same thing I was doing before. But if it's a warm-up call, I just return whatever. Now you do that for every lambda. Now that code, it has nothing to do with the lambda. It is there just to get this. So that is very intrusive. So first, of course, it may not work in other vendors, but even for the same vendor, is something that is there not because of the lambda or the function, not because of the functionality of the lambda, but because the lambda needs to be warmed up. So that's from the point of view of the how we should write code. That should not be there. Make sense? But that's actually the recommended solution. But I'm glad that you did it for all of them, because I didn't. And I think I want. So we understand the solution. It works. Okay? But you have to do these things. You have to create a event bridge. Now, before it was called different way, and then you have to, and this is the key. This is the key. Because this part, create the event bridge, it can be automated. This part, you have to go every class and do it, and don't make a mistake. Okay? Now, third solution. We have time? Yes. Is your solution. But his solution is, sorry, not first solution. So first solution was to provision some execution instances always there, you pay, but you don't touch your code. Second solution, you use this kind of event that is keep calling and keep things warm. But for doing that, you have to create all of them, and then you have to modify your code. So solution 2B, you don't do this. Okay? You create one lambda. Let's call it lambda warmer. And this lambda inside invoke all the other lambda. Call the other lambda. Then you don't need to create an event bridge for every lambda. You create an event bridge for this lambda. And this lambda call the other lambda. Okay? Do you solve this problem? No. You go to every lambda and say, so this only simplify this. Not it. Well, simplify this, and then you have to create a new lambda and deploy a new lambda. Yeah. Okay? That's what you did, right? Now, is it working? As good as the other one? Check, because already, because that's what the one I'm using, but I'm not so sure, and I don't know why. It doesn't work as well. It doesn't work the first time. It works very well after that. But if it's after that, it's already the same thing. So let's try with you. So yeah, that's what you have. That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. Then you will have in your browser
Focus on the browser.
the browser. Check the browser first. You see, it takes more time. Still, it's not bad. Try again, refresh. Yeah, but it's okay. So show us the code. For the lambda. So that's what I was saying. So you go here. Right. So you So you basically have this lambda warm up class that it has this client, and then essentially what it does is to what is this warm up lambda function here, which you basically he doesn't need to pass what you did, because the query parameter is the same thing that passing the value. And then he's passing this, which is similar to what you are doing, and then go up to every single lambda that, in your case, you create an event bridge for each one of them, right? He creates one event bridge for one, and then a lambda that call all of them, and pass to all of them the same value. And then each one of them, it has the same if then else that you have, the same. Open any of them. Open any of the lambda function. Open. Right. So that's the if I was saying. If the request value include essentially request the warm up, then you go and return. And if not, don't. And the rest is the same, right? The rest is as expected. But that piece of code is there only because of that. Go back to the browser. I want to try again. Refresh. Go upload. Yeah,
Upload one.
Or go to that. Go to delete. Delete any one.
Click correct.
Yeah. You click already. So it's taking time.
Yeah, few seconds.
In your case, takes time or not? Delete.
It takes some time, but it's much faster than before even teach.
Well, anyway, depends how you do it. I don't know. So to me, this solution is equivalent to the other solution. It should not be less faster. But my experience is that it's less faster, which I don't understand. I will study. Okay. So, right. So thank you. So you see my point. My point is there is a problem, and there is different ways of solving the problems, which has pros and cons, and you need to evaluate cost, then how much it's going to impact my code. This has a high impact. You modify every single class. The question of one event bridge or many event bridge, to me is not that important, because I know I can create event bridge automatically. There's nothing. There's a command that creates event bridge, which I can put in a script. I click the button. So it is not that. So if, for example, if doing the event bridge is faster than doing the other thing, I will go for doing the event bridge for each one of them because I can automate it. That's not a problem. The problem is adding the if then else to each lambda. That is ugly from the software engineering point of view. But there is no other way. So let's go back to right. That's why. So what is this? So this is the solution, the event bridge solution. Simple and cost-effective way. You don't pay to keep containers warm, especially for function with infrequent but latency-sensitive occasions. That's actually the case of we don't know when the client is going to visit our page, but by the time the client visits, the time is relevant. And then there is no guarantee that everything is going to be. There is no guarantee that. Suppose now that you have a lambda that depends on 2 lambdas. There is no guarantee that the 3 lambdas are going to be 1 pub at the same time. So you have to again. Because it's every 5 minutes, but every 5 minutes starting when you created the lambda, so it may be a different 5 minutes every single time. Unless it's do it your way, but do it your way again. It is not a guarantee that it's going to be. There is no guarantee that it's going to be always 1 up. All of them. Okay, so that's a bit of a problem. Now the next, and before we take a break. The next solution I tried a few months ago, and I didn't like it, and my feeling when I was doing it, I may try again, so it's only works for Lambda, for Java, which is already ugly. When you have a solution that it only works for one programming language, is ugly because there is no guarantee that these guys are going to keep this solution in the future. It looks more like a solution that was cooked up at a certain point for certain needs and stay there until they get tired of maintaining it. And I didn't like it because actually I need to modify. I may do it, maybe I did the wrong thing, but my feeling was that I had to modify a lot my lambda to get these things going. I need to modify significantly my Java code. So I don't think it was worth it. But they say that it solved and you see, this is the thing that you should always be very afraid of. Currently only available for Java runtimes. But for how many? 21, 25? They're going to keep maintaining? No, I know. So if you don't need to change your code, it's okay. But if you need to change your code, think twice. Okay? And I think that's all the solutions that they offer. Then of course you are supposed to do a number of things which are meaningful. Don't put too many things in the initializer. Do things outside. Right. Choose efficient runtimes. Pay more. Increase memory allocation. Blah, blah. And there are some other frameworks that you can use. Okay. Summary. You go from server to serverless. You start having problems. Benefits and problems. Different ways of solving the problem. Look at the criteria. Try not to bet vendor locking. Try not to modify your code. Try not to break. Based on that, make a decision. Don't just go for whatever. Okay? So we take a break.
Nó có bị úp không mà bị úp không? Làm ổ chết sẽ chưa? Rồi. Làm được hả? Lấy ra cái bài
Don't do this way. We don't copy it there. With the land again. So, but let's go.
Sorry, my correction if I know.
Because you are calling from the core field project. Right. Open the browser. Yeah. Open the file. Course policy, right? So this guy, what is this? for the next. That's for the.
Xong rồi nó ra gì đó xong rồi mà chưa đến bây giờ đúng không? Tất nhiên là ta chỉ lần trước mình cùng xem thì ta thấy mình về nữa mà lần đầu tiên nhà mày ở hai nhà, mày có hai nhà ủa mà nhà đó giờ phải tàu là nữa, đó là phường tàu ở thành phố.
It's even nice name.
Tàu ở nội nó phường cũ rồi. Anh biết cái gì không sao?
Cái đó là Windows mà, cái đó là Windows mà.
It's just a bit of politics.
Không phải nói này. Tại Win tao nói về ông mẹ không lớn.
We will do it now.
Nói này bởi vì thành. Nó